G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here with the story of the Hillbilly repair to an extension cord. Those of you who are familiar with my channel may be aware that my original tripod, which was not only a solar panel mounting but was also an elevational device to carry the power line from the batteries, inverters, generator to the hut. But the original Powerline tripod was destroyed when some dumb, stupid prick attempted to drive his son's borrowed car with a Mark V sunfoil underneath the power lines. And around about there is where the Mark V sunfoil contacted the power line and cut it in half while pulling down the old Powerline tripod. And I must admit that as a hillbilly hermit, I am personally so particularly pleased with the result of my second generation Powerline tripod that I cannot resist showing it to you. Okay, so the electricity comes from photons from the sun. They get stored there in lead acid batteries inside the pyramid of power, having come from the tower of power. Okay, so the electrons come from the tower of power to where they're stored in the batteries under the control of a battery charge controller. And then the quote 12 volt electricity comes out of the batteries through the inverter out through the cable, which then runs up the Powerline tripod. One 240 volt alternating current cable crossing the clearing to my hut, where I use power there, and another 240 volt power line going across to the machinery shed. And it was the power line to the machinery shed which got itself cut by the Mark V sunfoil when I forgot that there was insufficient clearance for me to be driving my son's car underneath my power line. Okay, so they say you're not supposed to try and rejoin broken alternating current 240 volt power lines, but here's what I did. As you can see, I have first taken a pair of 1.25 litre polyethylene carbonated drink bottles. I've amputated them and set them up so that they will nest inside each other, and I've drilled holes in their lids so that the two amputated ends of the power line will pass inside the bottles. Then what I've done is I've tied a reef knot in the actual power cables, and then after tying the cables, I've used electrician's tape to stabilize the knot. Then what I've done is to join and solder the three separate wires individually, and then individually wrap the three separate wires in electrician's tape, and therefore after joining the bottles I have achieved a weatherproof seal in a reef knot in a soldered power line, which was accidentally cut. The far end of the power line that kind of more or less starts there at the tower of power and then comes across to the machinery shed, where we may take something like a jigsaw out of the box in the cupboard, sit that on the bench, and then plug the polypropylene into the Bakelite, connected to the jigsaw on the bench, toddle across to the pyramid, where we can see no fakery here, mate, this is all real. The inverter, the JJ Hoel Proprietary Limited Australia 240 volt total loading 10 amps Bakelite connector at the other end of the power cord. We plug that in, we turn that on. We see 13.6 volts with 13.7 volts on the solar panels. And then it works. Kimmosabe, it works. The Hillbilly power line repair to an extension cord, it actually really does work, just as advertised. Look at that. Okay, battery voltage 13.5 volts. PV voltage 13.6 volts. Look across there and see what happens now. .8 volts. There you go. See? This is how your average mad scientist, hillbilly hermit, fool on the hill, manages to power their lifestyle. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Ciao.